First, this is ABC-7 Extra.
And it is Sunday, October 23rd. Welcome to ABC-7 Extra. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Guadian. We're a little more than 2 weeks away from Election Day, and on November 8th, El Paso voters will make a decision on EPISD's nearly $669 million bond. One of my guests tonight is against the bond and has created some graphic illustrations for local newspapers like the one that you're looking at right now, encouraging people to vote no. It is the largest bond ever in El Paso. Some say it's too much and does little for schools in need, but district officials strongly disagree, and the EPISD board president is here tonight to explain why the money is needed and how it will be spent. We want to hear from you tonight. You can email us right now your comments and your questions to ABC-7 Extra at KVIA.com. You can also reach us by calling 915-496-1771, and you can tweet me at Guadian ABC7 using the hashtag ABC7 Extra. District officials have been busy trying to educate the public on why they say the money is needed. And those against it, though, are also trying to get their message out, both sides holding community meetings.
Coronado, in the wealthiest part of town, gets $74 million for a partial rebuild. Maybe they saw the Trump Tower and they want to duplicate it.
That's attorney Arnulfo Hernandez Jr. As you may have guessed, he's against EPISD's nearly $669 million bond. The attorney helped organize a community meeting. Albrijones lives on the east side, but he's upset over what he calls an injustice being done to schools south of I-10.
We want transparency, and we want people to tell us why they are not spending the money equally throughout the district.
He and the others at the meeting also want to know why the district needs so much money. EPISD officials have not strayed from their explanation given to us about a month ago.
They lost one in 2002, won one in 2007, and then in 2012 they lost another one. So part of what's going on here is that we're playing a little bit of catch-up.
No, clearly EPISD has had other distractions, and we have been kicking the can down the road when it comes to facilities.
Hernandez isn't satisfied. He showed us photos of stage drapes at Guadian Middle School he says are decades old and falling apart.
Burgess gets $39 million, and El Paso $21 million, and Andres, everybody gets millions itemized for their projects, and Bowie High Schools get zero.
Hernandez says the district pointed out Bowie High School received money from the 2007 bond. EPISD reminding voters it was an 80-member facilities advisory committee made up of community members that came up with the final plan after touring schools and seeing the need firsthand. So the question: if the bond passes, what will this mean for taxpayers? According to the EPISD website, if approved, the bond would raise the property tax rate by 18.8 cents. That is a maximum. And on a home worth $100,000, the increase in school taxes would be $11.75 per month. Homeowners 65 years old and older, they are exempt from the increase, as are disabled vets. Joining us now is EPISD Board President Dory Fennenbach and Judd Burgess, a graphic designer and a taxpayer who has done some graphic editorials for newspapers like the ones that we were just taking a look at. I want to thank you both very much for being with us tonight. Certainly a hot topic. We're already getting calls from this. I want to start with just explaining what this bond is. And Dory, if you can tell us why the district has to reach out and try and get a bond.
Sure. There had not been a facility study done in the district in 15 years, and this has been a 3-year process. Our school buildings are over 50 years old and long past their, long overdue for facilities enhancements. We had a nationally recognized engineering firm identify $1.2 billion of critical needs that need to be addressed. And in order to do so, we formed an 80-person facilities committee that helped prioritize projects. They worked over 6 months, they toured schools and reviewed the data, and the citizens, the committee, our community, built this recommendation. The trustees did not add to or take away from their recommendation. That's what's going to the voters on November 8th.
Okay, now do you take issue with how they came up with the plan, the district?
I do. I feel that the firm that they hired, basically when they review buildings, all buildings are the same to them. Whether it's Seattle, Des Moines, Fort Lauderdale, El Paso, it's all buildings. So they're going to look at these buildings and come up with a huge price tag that's just going to shock everybody. And they're going to say this is what needs to be done in order to get El Paso up to snuff and equal to the rest of Texas, which is number 43, by the way. So we're down at the cellar as far as quality of education. And so what happens is we've got this, that company comes up with that number, and then everybody sold this bill of goods where this is the number that we need to be working with. So, you know, they don't understand El Paso and the culture here and the fact that we're a border town and that we're struggling. They don't understand the unique problems that students face here in El Paso with language, with poverty. And so it's to me, it's just a very, it's very vague. It's just dollars and cents, but it's not really dealing with the real issues that we struggle with here on the border.
Okay, Dory, I know that these committee members, the advisory committee, they did a walkthrough of the schools, took a look at the need firsthand. Do you have any doubt in the experts that you hired and the numbers that they came up with?
No, of course not. You know, these are engineers. We also had 2 architectural firms validate and verify the figures. And I've reviewed what other school districts have spent on schools that are similar age and condition. I'm 100% confident in the numbers that were presented to us and to the committee. And I think that we're confusing 2 issues. This is a facilities needs issue. We have to send our children to safe and secure school buildings. We need comfortable working environments for our teachers, and we need technology in order to support the learning that happens in the classroom. That is very different than the investments that we're making in terms of educational improvement and advancements, which I'm proud to say that we are working with an administration who over 3 years has made tremendous progress in turning around a district that had been under a dark cloud, to the point that now we are getting statewide recognition and even national recognition for the programs and the outcomes that we're already seeing.
Okay, so it's not just the buildings that we're talking about. You can see that they are talking about, you know, increasing security and technology.
Well, when you talk about increasing security, I keep hearing all this talk about, like Mrs. Finnenbach likes to talk about certain specific incidents, like some brand new student that had a ceiling tile land on his head, moldy water all over this guy. And I'm thinking, you know, EPISD has $20 million that I've heard of that wasn't spent on the 2007 bond. And if it was such a great need, which I'm sure there are some needs within this school or that school, but if it was so great, why aren't they tapping into that money? I mean, if it's that dire and that urgent, why can't they find a way to get through all this dysfunction and just get right to the problem? And instead of talking about, oh, all these things are happening, the sky is falling in our classrooms, and all these things are going on, let's tap into that money.
I don't think I understand the logic. We have $1.2 billion of critical needs that need to be addressed. The question is how to prioritize the spending.
I'm talking about the things that are going on right now that need addressing right now before this bond is even passed.
Okay, so let me stop you there because we do have a Facebook comment that I think addresses this. It is from Johnny Jones, and he wrote, vote no and then spend a few million to send all the administrators to a class so they learn to spend the money already given to them wisely. How much money is left over, and what is the plan for that from the last bond?
So the 2007 bond, there was money set aside for a high school in the Northeast. That was based on projected growth that did not materialize. New schools follow growth, and therefore a bond oversight committee that was in place helped decide how to redirect that money. Most of that money was redirected, and 90% of that money stayed in the Northeast. There is $19 million left of that money that we decided, because we began the facilities study, we decided to hold that back so that we could maximize the value of that money depending on the outcome of this bond and where funds will be distributed.
And so where is that money going to go?
The $19 million will be decided once this bond is decided. Okay. There has been no decisions made about the $19 million.
Okay, we have a lot of callers calling in. Let's go ahead and take a moment and listen to our first caller.
Good evening, my name is Miguel. My question is, if the bond does not pass, what kind of strategy does EPISD have in place to continue to address the needs of EPISD schools, staff, and administration?
Fair question. What is the plan?
So here's our concern, is that if the bond doesn't pass, then the consolidations and the safety and security concerns and the transportation needs of our students will still exist. And if we have to, we will address those on November 9th. But undoubtedly, the solutions that will be available to us at that time will be more painful and more extensive and more expensive than if we can address them with the bond.
And if the bond doesn't pass, what would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd like to ask Mrs. Fennerbach first. If it doesn't pass, I've heard you say in the past that teachers are going to have to pay for it. You're going to take money out of the teachers and students. Is that correct?
The reality is that money that we spent on aging facilities that are tremendously expensive bleed resources from teachers, technology, and programs that directly benefit our children. So we have a choice as a community to continue to support facilities, 1 of 4 classrooms we do not need because of declining enrollment, or we can consolidate and create buildings that run more efficiently and then have operational dollars that benefit our children and student outcomes.
Okay, so and that is why you're looking at consolidating some of these schools. What are you going to do with the savings?
So each school, we're looking at 9 consolidations. That's approximately at a minimum, $9 million a year of operational savings. We have created a compact with the voters that commits that money to teacher compensation so that we can attract, support, and retain the highest quality teachers for our students.
Okay. Well, so when we have the empty buildings, any threat, though, that those buildings could actually be leased out or sold to maybe charter schools? Because if that happens, that could add to the declining enrollment for EPISD.
Also in the compact of the voters, which I should say is the first in the state, we are the first district in the state to create a compact with the voters that binds the current and future trustees to the projects promised with this bond. And what it does, we've also said that we won't sell buildings to charter schools, and we will have at least 1 community meeting for each neighborhood that's affected so that they can help be a solution to what is a better use for that land or building in their neighborhood. We hope to maximize the value for this school district and also to create opportunities for residential infill development and bring more families and children back into our district.
Some people that I have interviewed out in the public when I've done previous stories, they felt as though the money, it's a lot of money, is not going to be spread out evenly to all schools. Do you take issue with that as well?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that statement. I'd like to point out the fact that Mrs. Fennerbach's kids have graduated from Coronado, and one of them is currently going to Coronado. The superintendent, Mr. Cabrera, his kids are going to Coronado. And so what we're looking at here is this stunning example of just a tone deafness when it comes to just kids that go to schools in the poverty areas of town, the south side, the northeast. I don't know how 80 people can come up with this bond and look at the fact that Mrs. Fennerbach kids, and these are the 2 most prominent people that are pushing this bond, yet their kids go to the school that's getting the biggest slice of the pie. I don't know, has any school ever received $74 million ever in the history of El Paso?
And that is a lot of money. What is that money earmarked for when it comes to Coronado?
Coronado, it's for a partial rebuild of the campus. The campus is over 50 years old. It's in deplorable condition. But I'd like to point out that neither me or any of the trustees or anyone from central office served on the committee that recommended these projects. We did not add to these projects. We did not take away from these projects. I had nothing to do with the project.
Let's explain who was on the committee.
The 80 people were selected from each of the trustees, and trustees represent single-member districts across EPISD. So therefore, there were each of us had the same amount of appointees, and then the district got the remainder, I think 35. This was a fair and equitable process. But I should also mention that if you look at what a brand new high school costs, Socorro, they have a high school they spent $120 million on. Las Cruces, even more than that. If you look across the state, even more than that. Coronado also, it's important to know, and you may not recognize, and I'm sure many people in the community don't recognize, Coronado is our largest high school. It is twice, and in some cases, triple the size of other high schools in our district. So when you look at per student spending, it's very equitably rationed per student. Furthermore, if you look at how the money is distributed, this was to me the beauty of this process, that it did become very equitably distributed. In fact, about a quarter went to the to the west side, about a quarter is going to the northeast, and half is going to the south and south central.
Can I address that?
You may.
Okay, it's all numbers, okay? When you say that every student in Coronado got the same amount of money, if you got, say, 4,000 kids going to school, how many kids go to Coronado?
Almost 3,000.
Or 3,000. Okay, so every one of those students gets a certain amount of money. It's like saying, like this family that's got 7 people that's well off, because Coronado families are generally well off. There's a lot of power, there's a lot of privilege, there's a lot of entitlement up in the Coronado area. And then you got families that got, like, say, 3 people, and they don't make a lot of money, they're poor, and you say that we're going to give you your money depending on how many people go to your school, then you're obviously going to get a lot less money in the poor areas because they're not able to utilize that money the way a big school like Coronado does, where there's money already in the first place.
And we should mention there are some other high schools getting a lot of money. Burgess, $56 million.
My kids went to Burgess, and I'm against the bond.
Okay, Jefferson, almost $40 million, and Irvin, $27 million. Some of the schools that aren't earmarked for a lot of money, did they get money in the last bond?
The 7 of 10 high schools are getting money for partial or for full rebuilds, and they are our 7 oldest campuses. And I think it's important to point out that the state of Texas does not fund for school facilities, for school buildings. And other cities in Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, have made similar investments in their legacy urban school districts. It is up to us, to our community, to decide to invest in the renewal of our school buildings. And they are in deplorable condition. It is unacceptable to me and acceptable to any parent to have a student in these schools to have inadequate heating and air conditioning, to have unsafe and insecure conditions that can be improved, and to have substandard working conditions for our teachers. We cannot attract teachers if we cannot provide modern, safe, and inspiring learning environments, and we need to do that. We need to pull together as a community and take care of facilities. I did not run as a trustee because I was passionate about facilities. The superintendent did not uproot his family from Austin and move to El Paso because he was passionate about facilities. We are dealing with problems that were inherited by us, and we are committed to solving them.
Okay, and with that, we're going to take a short break. A lot more to talk about. We'll be right back. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. Remember, we want you to share your comments. If you have questions for our guests, you can call our comment line right now at 915-496-1771. You can also email us, ABC7Extra@KVIA.com. You can also tweet me at Guadian, ABC7. Just remember to use the hashtag ABC7 Extra. We'll be right back. And welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. My guests tonight are EPISD Board President Dory Fennenbach and Judd Burgess, a graphic designer, also a taxpayer who has done some work for editorial or for the newspaper, some editorials. Thank you both for being with us. Certainly a hot topic. We're getting a lot of phone calls. We're going to go ahead and listen to some of those phone calls now.
Good evening. This is Jim from the West Side. I'm against it completely, because nothing ever finishes on time or within budget. See the El Paso Times today about the things going on now with the Beaumont Hospital, over budget, over time. Oh, well, it's just taxpayer money. And also remember Lundy and Hornado Schools, the disaster of time and money.
Thank you very much for your phone call. We certainly appreciate it. And Dory, this brings us to the issue of accountability. What do you have in store this time, and how does it differ from the last bond?
Yes, I thank you, caller, for bringing your concerns forward, and I hear that a lot. And I can speak for the other trustees, the other 6 trustees and I. You know, when we took office, restoring public trust was one of our top priorities. Mm-hmm. Our district has been under a dark cloud, and certainly prior leaders have done an inadequate and very poor job of managing funds and certainly communicating to our community and involving our community. I can only speak for this board and this leadership that we are committed to transparent governance. We have demonstrated very responsible fiscal governance, and we have created structures in place that will help the community trust in the work that we are going to do. Number one, and by the way, we are the only region in the state of Texas that school board members are required to financially disclose their personal financial statements every year. Number two, we are the only district in the state of Texas that has created a compact with the voters that is legally binding on us and future trustees to complete the projects promised. Number three, we will have a third-party project management firm that will oversee the projects to make sure that they come in on time and on budget. Mm-hmm. And number four, we will have a dashboard on our website so that the community can see in real time the projects as they are in progress and the expenditures and whether they're coming in on budget.
Okay. Some people had asked the question, why not ask for a smaller amount of money now and spread it out over time? You're shaking your head.
Here's how it works. They get this company to come up with this huge number, and I'm not saying it's a false number, that 1.2 billion. But I mean, everybody in El Paso, like I said, it's a poor, struggling city. We're going to hear that number. We're going to think, my God, where did they come up with this? So they come back with a number, 669 million, which is still stratospheric, and people are going to say the same thing. That's just not going to work. So I call it the used car slip and Jimmy trick. Okay, they're going to have this number, and they're not really expecting to get that because everybody knows that bond is going to fail. It's going to tank. So they've got another magic number, just like a used car salesman. I'm not saying that ISD is a used car salesman. They got a great thing going, but they need to work on it and continue working on it. So they're hoping to maybe get 300 million out of the deal. So they're going to come back when this thing torpedoes, and they're going to come back in May or whenever it comes back to a second vote, and they're going to shoot for the 300 million. But I think even at that point, we still need to revamp how things are done. So I'm against it just by just the way it's been engineered.
But when you say revamp how things are done, specifically, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about looking at the situation that Texas is in. We're number 43, okay? I don't see how anybody can say we need to invest in buildings when we're already down at the bottom in terms of educational opportunity. If we're number 43, that's the problem that we need to work on. We have teachers that are paid the lowest in this area. And so they're not being allowed to teach to their talents and their abilities. The students are, like I said, it's kind of a top-down thing where the kids at the top of the educational ladder are getting all the benefits while the people in the south side and northeast are getting the crumbs. And so I think that we need to find out to make it equitable for everybody. We need to find resourceful ways, creative ways to get money so that the teachers are taken care of, and we create programs that are for all kids.
But we do have a lot of low-income people here in the El Paso area. Isn't one of the things that you're focusing on technology, trying to make sure that every student has access to this?
Now, this is what really excites me about what's happening in the district. As I said, facilities is just, it's a necessary step that we need to take, that because of political difficulties in doing this, as you can see, the can has been kicked down the road. Our former political leaders have not wanted to deal with this issue. We have to deal with it so that we can put those resources that we're bleeding into facilities that we don't need into education and programs that make a difference for kids. And we're making tremendous progress. We have put money into dual language so that every child in every grade in every school in our district, we are the first in the state to offer this option to our families, students and families. We will be bicultural, biliterate, and bilingual on the border, and that's going to be an economic differentiator for our children. We are creating project-based learning opportunities and choices. We're creating more pathways, whether vocational careers or pathways to college for our students than ever before. And in New Tech, we have New Tech, which is a project-based learning platform. It is in the west side, the south central, and the northeast. And we are seeing that those kids, without focusing on the test, nowhere in our strategic plan that we just completed last spring will you see anything about teachers should teach to the test. In fact, we are creating an active learning framework. And we've put money behind professional development to support our teachers so that every teacher will have training for at least 1 year over the next 5 years, so that we can evolve to student-directed, personalized instruction that helps create differentiated learning experiences for our children. This is tremendously exciting, and we're already seeing that our dual language students and our New Tech students are testing higher. Without teaching to the test, they test higher than their cohorts. It's very exciting for our community.
Okay, let's go ahead and take another call.
Yes, my name is Jesus from the west side, and I'm wondering why I should vote for the EPISD bond, because from what I'm seeing is there's a lot of a lot of waste in the district, and why isn't the EPISD not trimming the fat from top-level administrators? And not only that, but the amount of money being spent to promote the bond, why isn't that money being channeled into repairing buses and the schools? Thank you very much.
All right.
I hope to hear my comment. Thank you very much.
And
Bye.
I hope you just heard it. Thank you very much for calling. Good question. Part of what you have to do is educate people about the bond. And you said you don't think there's anybody out there who doesn't know the details of the bond, but I know going out into the public and asking questions, there still are some people who don't know what the bond is about and what it entails. So to also talk about the administrators, is that an area where you're also focusing on?
Absolutely.
As he said, cutting fat?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult for us to communicate, everything that we're doing in the district. But there are things that I'm very proud of and that our community should be very proud of, what we've accomplished in the 3 years under Superintendent Cabrera, the year and a half under this Board of Trustees. We've been presented with 2 budgets. The first budget that we were presented with was had a $30 million deficit because of the loss of student enrollment, which is tied to revenue. We passed 2 balanced budgets, and we put $12 million this year into our general reserves. So that is money that has been trimmed from central office and other areas where we have created more operational efficiencies. We also, if you'll remember, went out for the tax ratification election of August 2015. That allowed us to access an additional $14 million in additional state funding with no local tax impact. That helped us offset the deficit related to the loss of student enrollment. So I'm very proud. We're in very sound fiscal standing right now, and that is money that is being redirected into the classroom. We know that the magic happens in the classroom between the teacher and the student, and if they have the right learning environment and the technology needed that is indicative and replicative of 21st century work environments, our students will succeed.
Okay, I promise I'll give you a chance to respond to that. We have to take a break. We'll be right back. Oh. Welcome back, everyone. We want to give Judd. Okay, your turn. Chance to respond.
Well, yeah, in response to what Jesus's question, on Facebook, there's this gentleman named Dan Weaver who used to be on the board, and he's been doing a lot of research, and he posted something today that showed the top level administrators and what their raises have been over the last 9 years, I believe, and it was just amazing the amount of money that they increased, and the teachers aren't even there. The teachers are the lowest paid within the region. So we talk a lot about pride, and if you look at my button here, I'm not proud. I mean, I'm proud to be in El Paso, but I'm pissed about what's going on with EPISD. And so teachers need to get paid what they're worth. You know, we talk a lot about, oh, we're helping the teachers and we're doing this and we're doing that, but they're not getting paid. We can start with a good paycheck for teachers. And so, you know, let's start cutting back on some of this executive pay that they're getting. They're not earning their money. You know, teachers are the ones that are earning the money. And I've talked to several teachers, and most of them are against the bond, but they're being muzzled by EPISD because they don't want to show that there's disunity within the ranks.
During the commercial break, you were upset about the amount of money that Bowie High School has received. Let's talk about all the schools. Are they going to see something?
Yes. So first of all, let me say that, you know, Franklin, Chapin, and Bowie are our three newest, youngest schools, and so the committee prioritized the 7 oldest high schools. That's why Jefferson is getting $80 million, Jefferson Silva, and Bowie is not getting. And again, this bond addresses roughly half of the facility needs. So no one is saying that Bowie and others, and Franklin and Chapin don't have needs. Only we just can't address them all right now. But as you mentioned, every school is going to be addressed in one way or another. We have transportation investments. We have buses that are beyond the recommended mileage. We need to send our kids to school on safe, new buses. We have technology improvements that are going to improve every single school. And most importantly, when we are not bleeding our funds and draining them into old, tired facilities that we don't need, we can redirect those resources to improving teacher compensation, to improving our learning opportunities at every school for every child.
Okay, we talked about a tax increase at the start of the show. Is that something that would happen all at once or over a period of time?
So this is a 3 to 5 year plan. So the tax impact won't happen at once. It'll happen as we'll sell bonds as we begin to spend the money. So we'll see that gradual increase over the next 3 to 5 years. And let me address one other thing, because Judd mentioned or implied that I was personally involved in Coronado getting the money that they did. Or that I was going to benefit.
No, I just thought it was interesting.
My younger son is a senior, and I'm a volunteer. I stepped up as a concerned citizen. I'm not just arguing and complaining about the district. I cared enough to step up as the other trustees to fill a role to address concerns and issues and solve them. These are extraordinarily complex. We relied on professional engineers, professional architects to give us data that I think is reliable, and we are using that data, and most importantly, using our community to help us solve these problems. They have to be addressed, and we are then focused and continue to be focused on student educational outcomes, building career opportunities, because when we come together as a community and invest in education, invest in our children as we need to do right now with this bond, then we will increase the prosperity of our entire region. It will pay it forward. It's an investment, but it is worthwhile. There is no better investment than that of our children.
Okay, we're running out of time, but I want to get at least one more caller in. Go ahead.
This is Lydia. I'm concerned about the bond because I think it's just always been favoritism in El Paso, and I do think that gentleman is right. My daughter went to Urban High School, and even to this day, she graduated in 2008, and even to this day, you cannot even see improvements on Irvin. It's a very sad situation. Whitaker Elementary has not been kept up. And everything that superintendent did to us years ago, the scoundrel that he was, and now we're being asked to pick up the tab for his misgivings. And I just don't think it's fair, not right now. Thank you.
You know, the only one that, Lydia, thank you for your question, for your call. And I sympathize, I empathize with how the community feels. We are in a kind of a crazy time politically. But the people that have really suffered are our students, our children. And I would ask our community to understand that we have turned a corner in EPISD. And we can choose to stay anchored in what was and in our past, or we can embrace a new day, embrace the changes that are happening in our district today, and help get behind and support, because it's not only an ethical board of trustees, it is not only committed, dedicated leadership at the district and in our classrooms, it is our community that has to get behind forward progress and educational advancement of our children. This bond is an opportunity for our communities to say, yes, we believe in our kids, we believe in education, and we believe in the direction that our district is now taking.
Okay, I want to give you the final thoughts.
Okay. Well, we're told that this bond is for the kids. We're told, that this is the right thing to do. And I just happen to believe it's actually for the super PACs that are supporting it. If you follow the money trail, you're going to look at Hunt Corporation, you're going to look at people that are more interested in political advancement than they are the kids. If it's really about the kids, I think people are going to vote no, and then we're going to go back to the drawing board and we're going to find out how we can start developing. I mean, a lot of the things that Mrs. Fennenbach said about all these programs, I think that's wonderful. That's what we need to concentrate on. You know, this is El Paso. We're not Round Rock. We're not, Dallas. We're not these cities with money. We need to continue behaving like El Paso and live within our means. If we have to duct tape our buses like the way my family has done with our 2000 Honda Odyssey with 270,000 miles, then that's how we're going to do it. If you have to,
Well, I don't think anybody wants to duct tape buses,
no,
but I can appreciate both
but you
of
know
your
what I'm saying,
viewpoints.
though,
I
right?
do. Yeah, and I think I can say that you at least agree that you hope people come out and vote.
Yes.
On election
Absolutely.
day. All right, and if you have more questions about the bond, we have a link to EPISD's website on our website. That's KVIA.com. Thanks again to my guests, and we hope that you do vote. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.